Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Willingdon on Mission podcast. I'm John, one of the pastors at Willingdon Church. On this episode, we've got Siong. Siong, welcome here.
Thank you.
And this is the third episode of a 4-episode series highlighting the ministry of Siong. She's our missionary of the month right now. And so we wanted to give you a bunch of glimpses of her ministry and who she is as a person. And so this particular episode, we're going to highlight one of the ministries that Siong is connected to. It's called OM Ships. Operation Mobilization is OM. And you're about to head out, or actually by the time this is published, you may have already been on an airplane, but you'll be on a vision trip.
Yes.
On the OM ship Logos Hope. It's going to be in South Africa, and you'll be there a couple weeks in South Africa. I actually just returned from South Africa. I hope you have an awesome time. It was summer there, so you're going to love that.
Yes.
You'll love that. So can you just tell us about OM Ships, the ministry? What do they do? And also, this seems to be a ministry that that people from Willingdon could connect well with. What are some ways that they could do that?
Yes, definitely. Again, thank you so much for having me in this to share about my ministry, and thank you, Willingdon Church family, for all your support. I really do covet your prayers and ask that you continue to pray for me. So OM Ships share knowledge, help, and hope in the global port cities. Currently, there are 2 ships, Logos Hope, which has been around for quite a while, serving a wider area, which is Middle East, Africa, Europe, and possibly Latin America as well. And then the smaller ship, which focuses more regionally, which is on Asia, and right now is servicing Southeast Asia. Logos Hope is the bigger one, and you can have up to about 300 to 400 people, crew living on the ship and so on. Whereas Doulos Hope is a bit smaller. I think it's about 100 plus and so on. And so both for different purposes. In fact, the Doulos Hope, the reason mainly why they purchased it is that so that it could go into the smaller villages, especially the Mekong River, where there are a lot of villages that have not heard of the gospel. So they hope to do that and be able to, bring the gospel to these unreached people groups. Okay, so knowledge, help, and hope. What does the ship do? The key thing, one of the key areas is gospel. What happens is that when the ship is berthed at the ports, it is opened up to the local visitors. And you will see a lot of them lining up, especially in some of these countries. To them, it's such a novelty to see a floating library. So when the doors are open, the locals, they would be allowed to go up the gangway and then they are greeted. And then the next thing that they see is a hallway of exhibits, AV, that talks about the gospel. And here it is depicting the prodigal son. So crew and local volunteers who are trained in both their local language plus English would be, reaching out to these visitors, sharing with them the gospel, helping them to understand, and just making sure that they have a good visit. Then when they're done, they go into a cafe. And then there's also more crew and more local helpers who will share the gospel one-on-one with them. So then, they will also see the ship. They might get to see some public areas of the ship, like, for example, the cabin or the hallways, which talks about the story of the ship. Another area which they would see, and that would be by special invitation, because this would be events, is the theater. And the theater will host dramas such as The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I have seen that, and I'm just so amazed at the professional level of the crew, how quickly they were trained, to share the story and play out the story. And and schools, special events for men and women, to hear God's word, to be challenged, to be equipped with life skills. All these are training that's been held in the theater. Another area that is that the ship do is education. So that is tied into the book fair, which is huge, especially for Logos Hope. They can get books inexpensively, not just on on the faith Christian, but also on general matters like family, how to do certain things and so on, how to, parenting and things like this. So OM Ships has a has a special relationship with a lot of publishers, where there's an overprint, where there are earlier prints and so on, but still relevant. These books can be very expensive if these people have to buy on their own. But through OM Ships, when they come to the book fair, they are very inexpensive and readily available. Okay. The OM Ship too is also a place of training. Right? It's a great place for young adults to experience global missions with an international crew, to grow spiritually and to develop practical skills. Programs for them would include, like, for example, the one that I'm taking a team to in February is what we call a vision trip, which is to allow you to visualize what the ministry is all about. It's only 1 week, and I have led several teams there already, I think coming to about 10. And most of the time when they get there, they say, okay, Xiang, we got it now, what you have been trying to tell us. Because when you try to explain a ship ministry, it's just very hard. And they will all look at me all like, just puzzled. But when they get there, they say, okay, we get it. So they understand the ship ministry. And the vision trip is to allow you to go from departments to departments, not necessarily all of them, because certain areas like the engine department requires certain people with certain skills. But it's to give you a good feel. But the key thing is that you interact with the crew and the visitors, so that you can do be involved in the Great Commission. And the crew, I must tell you, it is just an amazing group of young people. The average age is about 25. But what hits most of us is the crew that is so passionate about the gospel, that is so passionate about serving God. A lot of them kind of know where they're heading to. And in fact, I heard of a story where the ship took the team to a port, and one of the crew went down to serve. And when she came back, she says, I think God is telling me to stay, to serve with the people here in this land. And we were like, I wasn't there, but when I heard the story, I said, wow, these people sure know, how they want to serve God. And all this comes through a very intimate and very a close, tight walk with God, for you to be able to hear that kind of calling. So, so the crew is one area, where I really enjoy most, talking to them, and they are dying to tell us their stories and asking us to pray for them and so on. And another area is the short-term mission programs, which is 2 to 3 months. They call that STEP, S-T-E-P, short-term mission programs, or they call exposure programs, where you're assigned to different departments for that 2 to 3 months. And so you work with the with the team there, and it's to help to grow you and to give you a deeper taste, a deeper walk in this ministry. And then the longer term will be for a year or 2 years or even more. And these people are involved with very specific responsibility. They could be involved in HR, they could be involved in AV. So it's like a career for them, for 2 years or so. And there's spiritual training. Spiritual training, they are connected with what we call the ship parents, which will be meeting them regularly, weekly at least, to see how they are adapting and how they are growing in their faith. And there's one very specific training that I heard of, and which is that in small groups, they would be kind of let out to the ship for a week, and they're on their own. They have nothing other than the shirt on the back. No food, no money, nothing. And they are supposed to work as a group, and they're supposed to rely on God and ask for direction and so on. And often they come back and I would hear stories like, wow, we didn't know what to do. We don't know where our meal is coming from. And then someone came to us and said, where are you from? And started chatting and so on. Well, why don't you come and join us for dinner tonight? Okay, solve one meal. And then, another person will, and these are not, these are small places where it's not very, heavily habitated and so on. And people would notice them and come up to them and say, are you guys wandering around? do you have a place to sleep tonight, and so on. So God has always answered their prayers and provided for them and kept them safe. Of course, they are not brought to an area where there are terrorists and so on, right? No. But this whole thing is to allow them to be trained and to learn how to discern and how to listen to God and how to depend on God for all their needs and so on, and to wait upon the Lord. So it's very encouraging to see young people going through this kind of training. And yeah, so it's I was very touched, and I kept telling people that, oh, I missed the boat. Literally, I missed the boat. I should have gone on the boat for this kind of training. I would love it, this kind of training to, for my own walk. But anyway, God can do other things since I missed the training. Yeah. So that is that. But another big training area is what we call the advanced planning team. So before the ship goes to the next few ports, a team will be assembled, and there are about 3 to 4 people. And this again is a group of mature so they will be selected based on how the ship management see how they have grown. And so before the ship berth, this team would be way ahead, working with the authorities. And you're talking about people, this team assessing the Prime Minister's office or the President's office up to the highest level of government to tell them about the ship ministry, to ask them for their participation on the opening ceremonies. I have attended all the vision teams that I brought, I've attended the opening ceremonies. And you have people like, not just the mayor, but the in some cases, the vice president and so on, and even the military, there's some presence there, some armed forces people are there, they are represented, so they want to come and they want to support it and so on. And even the media is there, it's like the paparazzi and the flash, the bulbs are flashing and we're taking pictures and all this. So it's like the team has gone there to be the forerunners, to let the word out, to tell the whole country or the whole city that this is happening. Please come and join us. And no wonder there's all these lines and lines of people. So I think the training on the ship is just so amazing. I mean, if I have a child, I would make sure that this child goes to the ship, at the right age and receive all this kind of training. In fact, I always tell people that if you have told the crew that if you have been on the ship and you send your resume out, and if I receive your resume, I will be calling you immediately and say, please come in, I'd like to talk to you and see how you can help our company and so on. And I'm sure other people would do that because it's just, I'm just so impressed with the team, that especially the advanced planning team, or this team that has gone out on spiritual training, trusting the Lord for their provisions. So these are some of the training that has gone on. Currently, the ship is focusing on Africans reaching the nations. What do you mean by that? It means that they provide scholarships for Christian workers from Africa to join the OM ship so that we can maximize the impact when we are in the ports, and also to expose these Africans to global missions so that they're equipped and mobilized and to be effective as leaders, as trainers, as disciple makers. And really, it's time for Africa to shine. It used to be that the center of Christianity was in the West, right? Now it has moved. It moved to Asia, and I think it's also moving to Africa and so on. And I'm so glad that the ship is doing this to highlight Africa, because let's face it, they need help, they need scholarship, but they are so hungry to want to serve God. They want to be in the Great Commission, but they don't have the resources. Most African nations are poor. Most families are poor, most countries are poor in Africa, and most communities are poor. So how are they going to support themselves, right, on the ship? So that's where we in the West comes in. And that's where God is calling each one of us to help out and, to enable these Africans to reach the nations. For Willingdon, Beyond Vision team participation, previously in the vision team, I have led the team there, and they went there. They are involved in some ways, whatever, but it wasn't a long term. And we felt that there is a need, especially in this day and age. We need to have a long-term plan of our ministry involvement. So with this VT that is coming up that I'm taking in February, I have told them, and I will be telling every vision team, that you need to have a long-term plan, meaning you need to make a long-term commitment. Vision team is not just something on your bucket list, check, done, that's it. No, it's more than that. You need to be committed in the Great Commission. And so I have encouraged and this vision team that when they're on the ship, they need to talk to the crew and should come back with at least one name where they will commit themselves to pray with this person for the rest of their mission journey and to support this person financially if they are short on supply on their support. Start small, $10 a month. I know some nowadays all of us are tight, right, with inflation and what have you. Well, start with $10 and grow from there. Let the Lord, as the Lord bless you, then you can increase that and so on. And also be prayer partners. OM Ships needs a lot of prayer partners. I mean, you look at the millions that they're dealing with, not just the people that visit the ship, but also to run OM Ship. And this number that I'm going to quote you is like maybe more than 5 years ago. They needed 1 million to finance the running of the expenses of the ship, Logos Hope. And now they have 2 ships, and we're talking about inflation and what have you, right? So yeah, pray not just for the finances, for the millions of visitors that needs to be, that needs to hear the gospel, but also pray for the crew, that every one of them will hear the call, whether it's long-term or wherever the Lord is planting them. And and then please share OM Ships with others, and please come with me the next vision trip. I would love to have you on the next vision trip. So so I think that's about all for that question, Pastor John, correct?
Thank you. Just going back to your comments about Africa and raising up missionaries from Africa. If anyone's interested, I just read a book that's a little bit nerdy, but it's called Africa to the Rest. And it's exactly about this topic of the church in Africa is flourishing in a lot of ways, and it's actually really on sort of the precipice of being a really significant missionary sending continent. And so OM Ships is playing a really strategic role in that, I would say. So
you're right.
So if anybody's interested in learning more about OM Ships, Siong has a wealth of experience, and you don't want to miss the boat, right? So thank you for this glimpse. For those of you watching, this again is the 3rd of 4 episodes. So if you haven't caught the other 2, please do. And there's going to be one more next week. So we hope you'll tune in again. God bless you all.
Thank you.